I would agree. Right now, I would really like to see, and I think that SPT is strong, but if CE gets map choices, I think they have a chance of winning. But SPT gets the first map choice, taking us to Dragonshire. I would give SPT a little bit of a favor here. And look at this, SPT also banning out Braxis again. Oh no, wait, no, that's CE banned Braxis.
Yeah, they banned the Braxis.
Okay.
Which is very interesting because they actually used to pick this map in the past quite often. CE in general is a team that doesn't like to play standard in terms of battlegrounds. They go to Towers of Doom, they go to Braxis, or even Warhead Junction to really throw their opponents off and confuse them. And that has worked so well in the past. However, if you face an opponent like SPT with such a wide variety of different heroes and strategies, I think you cannot outban them in terms of maps or outsmart them in terms of maps picks. So just taking something out of the equation that is not in their comfort zone makes a lot of sense.
That is fair. So, CE beginning with the Genji ban. That is very much a fair choice.
Yeah.
Giving that away so that they don't have to deal with it. It's one of the hardest heroes to counter. So, a cool move there.
Absolutely. Like, you want to get out. You don't want to have Melody C on that Genji. He was hands down the best Genji we have seen in China, maybe even in the Eastern scene so far. Like, the way of the amount of innovation he also brought to here, right? When playing on Battlefield Eternity, he jumped over the wall, destroyed the middle fountain every single time, and it really showed what kind of benefit that had as the game evolved, and that is just so cool. And once again, we see this new trend coming in of Oriel getting first pick. This is so unusual, but the more I see it, the more I like it.
Yeah. With Uther banned out, though, it is really high in terms of priority. The issue is it does open you up for those potential counters, like the high damage heroes like Chromie, for example, that really need a cleanse against. Yeah. Right now, though, KGY getting the hero he played 3 times in a row so far, and the hero that appears to be working for him, the Malthael, and a Tassadar being brought in to prevent that Ariel Tassadar combo.
Exactly. SPT realizes the imminent threat of that double support Vala style. They basically shut it down. We could still see Uther Oriel if it weren't banned, so no threat of immediate double support here on the side of CE. You know, if there's one team, though, that plays Oriel Karazim, it had to be CE. I've never seen it before, but you never know with Alufal on that hero.
I think we have seen it. I'm getting distinct memories, but I'm not 100% sure. So we see a Nubarak, high CC here. We're going to see Dahaka as well, giving themselves that solo lane nice and early on. But the issue is Dahaka will still struggle against Malthael because everyone struggles against Malthael.
Yeah, everyone does. There is very little you can do in order to shut him down. The only ways you can control Malthael a little bit when he's going in full ham mode with his Tormented Souls is, of course, to silence him so you deny the heal, or you have something like the Mighty Gust to really keep him at bay. But other than that, there's not a whole lot you can do. Now, let's see. Anubrek. Oh, or you could Kun him. Oh, that's a fair way to deal with him as well, of course.
Indeed. So, what are we going to see in terms of bans from SPT? What's going to be an issue? That potential second support, but you don't need it, so potentially more energy generators. Someone who can deal with the... someone who could deal with the Malthaels. So, stun, silences, energy generators. Gul'dan might be a viable option here with Anubrak already taken. Dropping that Horrify could be a good way of attempting to deal with the a good way to deal with the Malthael, and a Dahaka would also be solid in terms of the solo lane.
It's actually surprising to me that Dahaka wasn't picked up in the first pick phase here. It would have worked instead of the Greymane maybe if they had put more focus on, you know, the front line. But the Greymane, of course, is nothing to be sneezed at either. Now they ban out the Brightwing Tetcher. They just seem to get rid of all the globals, but the most important one, in my opinion, Falset, is still available. That's kind of weird.
Falset is still available, but for now, SPT do need to focus on some kind of healer. They get Rhaegar and they get Arthas, hiding their damage dealer. I like this. Adjust to what CE picked, because CE have to show everything now.
The cool thing about hiding your assassin pick for the last pick is, of course, that the enemy team cannot really counter it. So just imagine SPT wanted to go for an Illidan, right? Or any other basic attacker, like a Vala, like a Cassia, then CE could have actually taken some blinds into the repertoire. Or the other way around, if they go magic, they can maybe take a Turiel or something else that's really good against burst damage. So denying the enemies the insight of what your main source of damage is going to be can actually have a nice, surprising effect here.
And the thing is, they don't even need to pick an auto-attack dealer just because they have Tassadar. They can just put Tassadar as a big old damage dealer.
True.
And just take stats for take all the attack stuff for him and let him be his own Protoss, or his own dog in this case.
No, totally right. They could still go for the likes of Chromie, for example. I think Chromie combined with Malthael and Tassadar would have way more damage than CE could at times deal with. Now they go for the Illidan and Lunara here as well. Yeah. So they played very safely. Okay.
Yeah, very CE to pick up an Illidan even with a solo support here, like they are with Ariel. They do have a support now. They do have an energy giver now in the form of that Lunara. They have everything they really need. The question is, how are SPT going to react to this? Lunara could go for an AP build, even if they did go for more blinds, like a Cassia.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, no matter what they're trying to do, like even if you pick the Cassia, there we go. That's a very good point. Cassia normally is so good against one or multiple auto attackers, like Illidan and Greymane, for example. However, you can't use your trait against the Lunara Poison, so even if you end up going Cassia, you would always have this annoying Bambi Deer dishing out the magic damage against you. So, on the one hand, I love how SPT approached that draft. On the other hand, I love how CE reacted to it. They go for Vala. Very classic. Okay.
Play it nice and safe, but they do have the Malthael, very solid player with minimal CC. Actually, they have a noob where basically Cocoon kind of needs to be dropped onto either Rhaegar or Malthael to solve the problem, and they do have the Hunt. Those are basically their options in terms of CC. I would kind of count Containment Strike as well. A little bit harder to hit on this map, I would say, outside of the actual shrine area.
Now, what I want to see here on the side of CE is if they want to fight and initiate team fights, I want the Cocoon to be used on Arthas, so Illidan has free reign and can dive really deep into the backlines. Because otherwise, I think that the Malthael damage, the zoning and peeling done by Arthas might be too much for Illidan to survive through. So a well-placed Cocoon, a well-timed Cocoon, can actually allow him to reign supreme on the battlefield. What do you think about this approach?
I like it. Once again, if you want to get the great value out of it, you either need to have him engage on people as far away from Arthas as possible, or not getting or remove the Arthas, like you said. So I do like that as a particular method.
Yeah. Also keep in mind that when Arthas uses his Army of the Dead, which is the likely heroic choice at level 10, and you pop the Cocoon while he used it, or while the ghouls are active, you basically take away time of the duration, and that can be so detrimental to Arthas' combat performance because he won't be able to have as much damage output, and he won't have, more importantly, the self-healing capabilities. So the Cocoon in many ways, I think, is going to be crucial for CE to really dominate the battlefield.
Much like the Cocoon always is such a valuable heroic. We will see which team.
What do you think about the upcoming nerfs to the ability?
I have not seen them yet. Which patch notes are they in?
They were announced. I'm not sure if they're on the PTR yet, but they were announced. They are going to reduce the casting range by 33% and like the traveling speed as well. So it's going to be a slower moving projectile and with reduced range. But for now, guys, we're going to go to the first map here between CE and SPT. Give it up and get hyped. The champions against their greatest rival in Phase 2 for HGC China. On the left-hand side, we have the contenders, the hungry team. Some would say the strongest team in China right now. It is SPT, and we have Quinn Zhao on the Vala, Melody C on the Tassadar, Misaka on the Arthas, Wings on Malthael, and ZZH on Rhaegar.
Whereas on the right-hand side are HGC champions. It is CE. Wind on Anubrak, KTY on Greymane, Paradise on Illidan, and Zuyu on Lunara. Our HGC China champions challenge everything on the right-hand side.
Yeah, they are looking good. Or they have been looking good for the most part. But this is going to be their toughest opponent to overcome. Now, we see something that I wanted to talk about yesterday, but unfortunately there was no one around because I was watching all by myself. But the Tassadar build, the Psystorm build, we don't see the Templar's Will at level 1. And I think it was in Korea when we first saw that build by Lockdown from Team Tempest. And basically, you want to go for as much AoE wave clear as possible, and you want to go for the increased damage after stacking it up. And then, of course, the double storm at 16. This is such a very interesting build when, for the most part, or for the most time, it was all basic attacks, and there was no other option. But see, look at those body blocks. Quinn Zhao, first blood, baby. There we go. The champions are here to make a strong statement.
Xiao completely taken out there. Nicely done. First blood going over to CE. Their builds a little bit more standard. Rhaegar actually with the extra radius on the totem for SPT.
Yeah.
Cool.
And if I recall correctly, yesterday we also saw the totemic projection in EU. I think it was...
Oh, what? Is that the one that lets you move the totem?
Exactly, this is the one that lets you move the totem at level 7, and you have to give up cleanse for it. But yeah, it also didn't work out too well. I think it was Nape or Curson. No, I think it was Curson actually from Team Expert, but I'm not 100% sure. But we saw a lot of variety builds on the support heroes yesterday throughout all the various regions. So we saw a Psystorm build in Korea. We saw the totemic protection or projection build, excuse me, in Europe. Lots of things are going on right now, and I love to see these kinds of diverse attempts. There we go. It was Curson. Yeah, there we go. It was a misclick, confirmed? Okay. Well, I take that back then.
Also, I just realized I was saying something wrong in the draft, saying that KTY was getting the Malthael. It was SPT. Was the draft inverted?
Yeah. No.
Marvelous.
I think it might have been a brain lag on your part.
Potentially.
Happens to the best of us, mate.
Indeed. Either way, CE still getting an Illidan. The Malthael still very scary from the side of SPT. So yeah, brain lag it is.
Yeah, happens to the best of us. But for now, CE is dominating both of those side lanes. However, I like the fact that none of the teams really lost their minds over it. Oftentimes when you see that laser beam shining towards the middle, some teams get a little bit anxious, they get a little bit nervous, and they make mistakes that otherwise they wouldn't have done. So in this case, both teams taking a chill pill, keeping their calm, and they're just taking mercenary camps, they're going back to lane, they do not neglect the soak. So just as expected from the top two Chinese teams, very, very standard and professional approach here in these early stages of the game. Now, we see Fear the Reaper, by the way, at level 1 for Malthael, which is an engage tool and a panic button at the same time. You can use it to jump in, you can use it to get out of harm's way. So, in my personal opinion, it's the best level 1 talent you could go for.
Agreed. I very much like it, especially if you're against a hero like a Nubrak.
Yeah.
You need to pass through him and prevent him from body blocking you, or someone like Illidan who is going to try and jump over you and body block you. This allows you to pass through enemy heroes, so big fan of it.
Spiritwalker's Grace coming in for Rhaegar, and already we see a nice adaptation. So basically, okay, let me just finish this thought after this team fight. There we go, Wings in trouble though. He uses Fear the Reaper, no body blocks. He goes back in though. Oh, what?
I think he knew he wouldn't escape. He was trying to dodge
because the cocktail
and get a second teleport, but didn't work out for him. Still, there is why that talent's so useful. Didn't save him this time, but you can see the viability it could have.
He could have died way earlier there, and at least he bought a little bit of time for the rest of his lanes, or the rest of his team's lanes, to get some value elsewhere. But back to my thought that I tried to elaborate on before that fight. Well, hold on. Zuyu in trouble.
Zuyu keep running, gets a heal from Ariel.
Okay.
As such, will survive, but took a lot of poke. The 3v2. CE having to play very carefully in this bottom lane for now.
Yeah, third time's the charm. Okay, so the reason why we see Spiritwalker's Grace here instead of the healing totem is because you want to combo it off with the level 13 talent, which gives you a lower cooldown on your chain heal. So not only are you going to have a lower cooldown, but also reduced mana cost. And that, of course, allows you to heal against all that AoE poke damage from Lunara. The tidal waves, of course, is the talent that I'm referring to. So a lot of poison damage, a lot of AoE poke by Greymon and Lunara, and that build hopefully allows Rhaegar to have more healing available during the later stages of the game.
We will keep an eye on it. Totem is dropped. Luful having a little trouble with the slow.
Dodge.
Dodged by Lunara, but the damage is still dropped onto her, and that's enough to kill her. Luful moving very far forward as well. He gets killed off too.
Yeah. That is, of course, the bitterness that happens sometimes for support players. They try to protect their assassin, especially Oriole players, when they're so dependent on their energy creators. He tried to save him, got too close to Arthas, got slowed and taken out in the process when all he should have done was just let Lunara die and survive on his own. But it doesn't really make too much of a difference here. XP-wise, still a very, very clutch game.
Yeah, the lead is in favor of SPT. Kill count is even though. Wind moving in to try and grab
Ooh,
that
that could be a
lane.
Dragon
Right now,
Knight.
Melody C going for it. Are they able to
Oh,
delay
wow,
one?
nice.
They are. First Dragon Knight of the game going over to SPT. And they're going to begin putting in some pressure to that mid lane. But KTY is here, assisting on zoning this out.
Yeah, and the perfect target in the Dragon Knight as well here, the Tassadar. Because normally when you want to choose a pilot for those drivable objects like a Garden Terror, RIP by the way, no longer here in HGC, and of course the Dragon Knight, you want to have someone that doesn't really have as much impact on a team fight. And Tassadar, I think, as a secondary support, you can definitely you know, neglect him in those team fights without really losing too much. Whereas if it were the main support or the main tank, oftentimes you find yourself in a position where the enemy team is going to jump into your teammates, and all you can do is watch them on the Dragon Knight as they fall one after the other.
Yeah, the other option I would say would be the melee assassin.
True,
so maybe the Malthael here, due to the fact that if the Dragon Knight does get focused down and burst or is in not a great position, at least you are that melee assassin who's supposed to be in amongst all the enemy heroes. So tank, melee assassin are good, but if you're going to play it a bit safer, the second support is always going to be nice because you're not going to miss out on as much siege damage.
And especially when it's a target like Tassadar as well, who, if he ends up getting caught in the Dragon Knight after losing it, he can always dimensional shift to safety, so he's not going to immediately fall to potential enemy gankers. So both Siege Giant camps, once again, you can really see how these teams mirror each other in terms of how they're rotating around the map, how they prioritize objectives like mercenary camps. So really, really cool to see that both teams have really prepared and brought their A game to this game. Now, in terms of heroic abilities, we don't really see that many surprises. Maybe Archon is worth mentioning because we tend to see a lot of Force Wall play over the last few weeks and months.
Yeah, but Archon still a little bit more popular.
Solid, yeah.
The Force Wall's good, but Illidan and the Noob don't really care. Lunara doesn't really care. Greyman doesn't really care. The only person who would really be affected is Ariel, due to not having any kind of jump. All of those other jumps are dependent on something else except for a Nubarak, but it's still cool to see that the Archon being used here. Greymane getting focused, taking a lot of damage from Malthael. Being in range of this fort isn't really helpful due to this Bruiser Cap pushing up and tanking the shots here. The hunt is used. They're going to try and blow up Malthael, but Tormented Souls turning around the damage, reduces the healing, and gets shredded. KTY trying to kite backwards. He's being chased. Storm is dropped. He's still alive.
Don't body block
Can they get him out of there? KTY will.
Dimensional shift.
No, hang on. Dimensional shift. Trying to get enraged tickle. The Side Storm is dropped though. A Noob's already died too. Illidan going to try and get a counter kill onto Melody C. At least get something out of this, and he's outnumbered. Here's the Archon. This is a disaster coming in here for CE. Paradise able to friend or foe to a loophole though, pulling back to the fort. Damage is dropped, and that's 3 kills going over to SPT, and they'll get this top 4 eventually. Probably not right now though, because they're out of minions.
SPT is all over the place. 2 people in the bottom lane, and yet they created so much confusion and wreaked so much havoc with only 3 of their team members. It was only just the Malthael, the Arthas, and of course Tassadar, and Illidan. He came to the wrong neighborhood when he decided it was time for a turnaround, because he just got bodied incredibly hard, and from there it is all just a question of snowballing. Another Dragon Knight. Perfect timing for SPT, and the immediate rotations make sure that map control remains in their hands. And Tetcher, this is looking more and more dire and grim for CE as they lose one structure after the other.
Yeah, this is not looking good for them. They do have late game with Lunara as long as they can survive, but right now they're losing stuff. Their top 4 will eventually die. It's so low. Mid fort going down. This is only the first fort of the game. Like we said, this is not a insurmountable deficit currently for CE. They're still in this game. They just need to stop falling as far behind. They're even on talents. They're only 1 level behind, about to be 2 levels behind though. They're definitely going to lose this top 4 though, unfortunately, due to it being made out of paper mache. So you can see they've ditched it. They don't expect the Dragon Knight to push up with this little health, so instead they're all putting their focus onto bot lane to make sure they keep that last fort alive.
They need to make something happen right now. Drop a good cocoon, follow up with the Illidan hunt, and all of a sudden you have yourself a wonderful numbers advantage. Here we go, Illidan coming in. The cocoon has not been used just yet.
The Hun was used. They're trying to focus down onto the Valor, but they're unable to get it. Dragon Knight is popped. Here comes the Tormented Souls directly into the backline, hitting everyone. Can they finish off Illidan? Yes, he can. Still had vision. Picks up that kill, but he's in fort range, taking some damage. It's a 3 for 0, though. They want Zuyu, but they can't catch him, but it doesn't matter. Getting 3 kills and the 4. SPT looking dominant.
Are they playing Wukong Gaming, or what's going on here?
They're just snowballing. They're taking their advantages, and they're doing so well with it. This Malthael proving to be too much value. It's getting 3 heroes every single time with Tormented Souls, and they can't burst him down. As you can see here, teleports straight in and just shreds everyone. Leaping Strike, unable to get out of range. The anti-healing against Ariel is just too much.
That is what I wanted to bring up here as well. The anti-healing provided by Touch of Death at level 7. Ariel, who's so dependent on landing her AoE healing, does not get any value, and Wind says bye-bye. And Rubrek falling once again. SPT in straight up dominant control of this game here. They bring so much damage to those team fights, especially Malthael. You can't stop this guy. You don't have a silence. You only have the cocoon, and it was used too early, or depending on how you see it, too late here, because they could have initiated early, in my opinion, when Illidan was about to fly in with the hunt. Now, we see that beautiful Rhaegar build also coming to fruition here. So much AoE healing available. Now, the double storms for Tassadar have arrived as well, the additional shielding. There's just no one they can kill with slow and poking damage from Lunara and the poke from Greymane Cocktails. So, everything is just working like a charm on the side of SPT.
Yeah, this is now just a war of attrition for CE. Their entire objective right now is to not die and exist, basically, for enough levels to get themselves to that 20 without losing keeps. This is basically a camp the base and soak XP and hope that SPT gives them the minions they need. And SPT are doing it. They're clearing the lanes. They are giving all this XP over to CE. The problem is that Dragon Knight is still a big issue. But if it's zoned correctly, that Lunara damage and that Greymane damage could be enough to keep it out of keep killing range.
Yeah, there we go. Some statistics on Wings here. He's definitely putting on a clinic on that Malthael. Like, his damage, his overall presence on the battlefield is just second to none here. Getting so much utility denial as well. Just reducing the healing done by Oral. She even went for the reduced cooldown on her heals, but they're not going to matter as much when everyone is afflicted by those red crosses. Now, Misaka charging in, the main tank warrior on that Dragon Knight, basically fulfilling the same role he would have done outside of the Dragon Knight. They're going to try to get that first keep. They want to use their talent advantage. And Illidan, he's still soaking like a madman, but is it going to be enough? Is he going to arrive in time?
Looks like this keep will go down no matter what. Is Illidan going to come into the backline? He should not now due to a punt already being used, but Illidan is wrapping around before even using the hunt. The Tormented Souls coming in. They're trying to keep everyone alive and Central keeping it.
They can't kill him.
Yeah, they can't kill him. Malthael just shredding through everything. Paradise, only one alive left with Zuyu. Zuyu off to the side. And no words for that. That was just shredded as we see SPT moving on to the core. And that is going to be GG. SPT taking game number 1.
Welcome to the world of Malthael. Welcome to the world of death, because that's exactly what it feels like when you have no counters and no means to shut down the newest hero in Heroes of the Storm, looking so dominant. This was, in fact, once again, one of the most impressive performances, and I just can't help but feel that CE lost this game in the draft. It looked like their team comp did not work whatsoever. They couldn't really get a grip onto that game, and they just had to watch Malthael tear apart their entire backline over and over again.
Yeah, they tried to go for the whole Illidan split push strat, but the map's too small. They were rotated against too many times, and they weren't able to get that big old split pushing XP and get themselves ahead that way. Instead, they kept rotating, and every time, Malthael would just shred through them. Pick or ban. Those are your options if you are second pick in this game, because SPT prioritizing it high enough. Or at least pick another support or something like that, a shield-based support, Tyrael with Sanctification, anything that can prevent your entire team dying to that anti-heal.
Quite honestly, I'm a little bit shocked to see the reigning champions, CE, a team that I value so highly in my own way, to fall like that. It didn't look like the CE that we know. And it's definitely not that CE played poorly. Well, they didn't play great, but I think it was more SPT just being on a different level in that game. You could really see that SPT continues to improve. They continue to refine their already immaculate gameplay, not just from a teamfight perspective, but also the way they execute their battle plans. You could really see that in order to deny Illidan all that split push value that you mentioned, Tetcher, they just went ham full force, forcing 5-man teamfights all the time so that Illidan had to retreat, he had to help his teammates, and by then it was already too late.